Great.
Just remind everyone that these communities, I realise they can be quite difficult.
The light's still not on.
So it wasn't the ending,
Very
it was
set.
about the tension between the two groups.
Very
and
set anyway.
they were stuck in the middle.
Right.
There's one, we used to say one.
Welcome, everybody.
3 months.
We can start now. We're just testing whether the live stream, the microphone is on. If we can be heard in the live stream. Have we?
No, there's no light on.
There's no light on there. That's why we're still testing. Okay. We've got somebody checking whether they can hear us or not.
I can't hear you without a light.
You want some cauliflower seeds?
Yep, I'll take them.
You grow them?
Yep.
You bring some cauliflower into the board?
Well, I don't know about that, but we've got a community garden, so the whole community.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
definitely grow them in that.
You bring us one cauliflower.
Okay, boss.
All right.
Right, so they can.
Organic?
so they
Can I put a
hear
request
us,
in?
But no.
You want 2 cauliflower now?
Organic, spray free.
Share screen with the.
No, they've been sitting in my bag forever and they will forever sit in my bag or a drawer if I don't give them.
We want to ask why you.
We got given them during the long-term plan here.
Yes, somebody from plant-based.
Yeah, plant-based treaty.
Yeah, we get a few fishes in my bag.
Yeah. I can't grow anything. I won a peace lily at a raffle a few years ago.
Any of your traffic things through?
It died.
Well, it hasn't died, but it looks a lot more dead than when I got it.
Amy.
Except wet stuff.
Weird stuff, like water.
We like,
You know, I've tried giving it heaps of water, medium water, little water, sparkling water. I've tried them all. Stupid plant.
In that case, it's probably a light issue.
Yeah, there's some things you're good at, some things you're not. Growing plants, not.
Okay.
I trust you.
Oh, Tyler will be Zoom.
That sounds
Got a
really
good gardening group, yeah?
very wealthy down
Yes.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our information session workshop. Apologies, we have a lateness apology from Tyler. He will be zooming in at 4:30. So if we can keep track of that. And
I might have to leave if we haven't finished by 5:15,
right. Okay. Hopefully we're finished by then.
hopefully.
And nothing else. Right. So welcome to Wakakotahi. If we can have you up. Please, thank you.
And
You can, anywhere.
And Fulton Hogan, that's right.
All right.
Cool, just come in strength.
And do you know everybody already?
I don't know. Helen Broughton, you're.
Denny Sang.
Sorry, what's your name?
Denny Sang.
Denny?
Yes.
Sierra? I'm Kay.
Nice
to meet you.
Susie, we've met it.
And Hayden.
So you guys are Wakakotahi?
Yes.
And we're Fulton Hogan. See the division.
Oh, yes.
1 year's enough.
Oh, okay.
Attention until you see it in those.
No, that's right, a bit of a gap in
We have
there. Scary.
Yes, correct.
Denny from Wakakotahi. Just noting down,
Yeah.
sorry. Denny, what's your last name?
Sang, S-A-H-N-G.
S-A-H-N-G, and then K.
Okay, we know.
Yep. And then
Susie.
Susie from Fulton Hogan. And
Surname, Susan?
oh,
Pottinger.
And Hayden is
Call him Hayden.
T-U-R-Z-A.
Slipper.
Z-A-K-E-R. Yeah, so that's Stuzaker.
Say it again.
Stuzaker.
Fulton Hogan.
I just start spelling it these days. 'cause-
Yeah.
Sound better after a few years.
Yeah.
Because of its school.
Right, so I understand you're also going to present at the other community board
Yes.
session, so we'll get you going now.
Hang on, I'll put up
Oh,
Oh. Oh, is that for the presentation?
for the presentation.
Awesome, okay.
Just,
So that you share that with the people online.
Am I good to go? Or-
I'm just going to share it.
Okay.
with people.
Good to go.
Great. Thank you for having us. We're here to give you an update on the State Highway 75 Horsa Road Improvements Project that's currently up for construction. As introduced earlier, I'm Denny Sang, Senior Project Manager at NZTA Wakakatahi. So I'll present the first few slides to just go do a quick recap about the project and just highlight some of the key aspects that we're looking to build. And then I'll pass the mic to Hayden, who'll take us through the construction aspects of what's going on up there on the road at the moment. So, where do I?
The computer, I think.
Is it the arrow?
I'll do it.
Okay.
You could hold your mouse the right way.
Yeah, it is pretty temperamental, I've got to say that.
I see that your New Zealand Transport Agency, have you gone back to being called that, or
It's
are you
government.
still Wakakatahi?
We're NZ Transport Agency, Wakakatahi.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
Yeah, so just to give a real quick recap, we've talked to this before in our last presentation to this community board, but Horsa Road is identified as a key bus route in Greater Christchurch, and currently there's experiences significant delays during peak travel times with people commuting to and from the city. This is expected to worsen over time as Horsa is growing very quickly, as growing quick, fast-growing suburb, and more people will move down into the southwest Christchurch over the next 30 years. There's also a lot of new developments that are upcoming along Horsa Road, with commercial and residential developments. So with all that, that will exacerbate to a corridor that will become more congested over time. The project scope is along State Highway 75 Horsa Road. It goes from Dunbar's Road to Curlitz Road. It's being delivered as part of the current government's Road of Regional Significance program. And the project will ensure that this section of the corridor is fit for purpose for the growing number of vehicles that are expected along this corridor. It will do that by ensuring that the buses, walking and cycling are as attractive as possible for people to use as a travel choice through the corridor. And directly adjacent to this corridor is the Lincoln Road, which council's currently working on improving to include bus lanes through that. So they both complement each other very nicely to ensure one corridor of bus lanes from Horsa to the city. So in terms of the key aspects or highlights of the project scope is that we'll be introducing bus lanes in both directions through the corridor. The bus lanes operate within what we call the urban section between Curlitz Road to Augustine Drive. They will operate during peak hours only. That means that in the northbound direction, so towards the city, they'll operate from 7 to 9 a.m. in the weekdays. And then southbound towards Halswell, they'll operate from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. So similar to what you see on the Lincoln Road section at the moment to Addington Village. There is the added time of the bus lane section between Curlitz Road and Augustine Drive will also operate during Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that is to accommodate for the growing number of people that use the Punawai Sports Facility. The bus lane section between Augustine Drive to Dunbar's Road will operate full time in both directions. We've also there's been a few little changes to the bus stop locations to ensure that the bus stops are to maximize the accessibility of bus stops within the neighborhood, and that they're also located near where on the next line where we are putting in some new traffic lights along the corridor at Rowley Ave, One Crescent West, and Aidenfield Drive. There's also going to be a signalized pedestrian cyclist crossing at just east of the Tankerville Road, where there's a lot of student crossings across the State Highway corridor. Sorry,
Is that what you wanted?
no, sorry,
Not yet?
not quite yet, sorry.
One of the most exciting parts.
There's 3-meter wide scheduled paths between Augustine Drive to Dunbar's Road, the more rural sections.
Yeah,
And that will then connect.
is that the good bit? It's a great bit.
Very exciting. We have hot path for the first time in 100 years.
In 100. That's right.
This thing continues on through the urban section as a two-way cycle path between Curlews Road and Augustine Drive, which is on the northern side. So that gives cyclists options on where they how to travel through the corridor. So just to highlight, just emphasize that cyclists can use either the off-road facilities that we're providing, or they can also use the bus lanes if they wish to. The project will also introduce the raised median through the corridor, or 1 meter raised median through the project area that will eliminate the right-hand turn movements from driveways and side streets to reduce the safety risk. As mentioned before, the corridor is becoming increasingly busy, and these right turn and this will ensure that to minimize the right turn conflicts. With the provision of this traffic lights will help with that, alleviate some of the concerns that may be raised with the raised median, and also allows us to put more safer U-turn provisions at those signals, as well as, and we're also putting in additional U-turn facilities closer towards Curlews Road section and Augustine Drive. And that's the key features of the project. Does anybody have any questions regarding at this point? Yes.
Yeah, sounds great. I've pushed bikes along there for 3 years, and it's always been a lousy bit of roading. But is there any plans to continue that further into Halswell? Because now
further south of Dunbar.
Yeah, now you got 2 Halswell.
Yeah.
Is there any plans of extending that?
Nothing that's confirmed. We can go back and check if there's anything in the long-term plan.
What's the next job?
Yeah, there's a shared path further up Halswell Road, so to connect the two will be ideal someday in the near future. Yeah, you've got a sort of a few hundred metres we've connected there.
You're just stopping a bit short, really, of where I would have stopped it. But yeah.
Right, so I've got Helen next, and then
Thank you. Are
Andre.
we talking about that bit of Halswell Road that's between the council road? Because you come up to where Debbie Moira lives, I've forgotten her road, and
Henderson.
it's on the edge of Halswell, and it goes to land transport, and there's a bit of road there, and then it goes back to council. Is this the bit of road, or are we talking about?
Go to the next one and it will show you.
We'll go to the-
It gives you the.
Oh, sorry, I'm just trying.
So
all of Halswell Road is ZTA.
Oh, I thought it was ours.
It's when you get to Hone Hay, it becomes council. When it becomes Lincoln Road, it becomes council. Everything we're looking at here is ZTA.
Fine,
Yep.
okay.
So we're going from Dunbar's all the way up to Lincoln.
the Dunbar's is where
All the way up to Lincoln.
Up to Curlews, the
To
Curlews.
the intersection of the
Okay,
council.
no, I hadn't realised that. I thought we
Yeah.
were just doing a section.
So the Dunbar's is where there's a BP station.
Yeah, I'm aware of that one, yeah, but you go all the way to Lincoln Road, do you?
Where Lincoln Road starts.
Where Lincoln Road starts. Yes.
Oh, okay, I hadn't realised that. Okay.
Cool.
Do you have indications there where the U-turn provisions might be, aside from the lights?
Yeah, so there will be one, so if you're heading towards the city,
Yeah.
there will be one facility sort of just before the Curlews Road intersection. So you can do a U-turn before Curlews, and then the other way, if you're heading southbound, then there's a U-turn bay that will be provided just before the Augustine Drive intersection. Aside that, there's the signalized, you'll also be able to do U-turns at the new signals at Raleigh Ave and Warren Crescent West.
Okay, Andre and then Sarah.
What do the numbered zones mean?
That's what Hayden will get onto it regarding construct.
That's got me nervous.
Makes you nervous about that. Don't be nervous.
But yeah, so Hayden will talk about construction, but if does that, any other questions regarding the projects Good. Oh, yeah, Sarah.
Is there a flyover that we can see?
Oh, like a zone, like a drone fly through video? No, not
Not
no,
yet?
don't, sorry.
Yeah, because it would be really helpful. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of disgruntled commuters.
Yeah.
But if they know what's coming, it might help ease the frustration.
Mm.
Yeah. Thank you.
Helen?
I've got a question. I think I was thinking of zone 4 being yours and the rest ours. What speed zones have you got?
Currently, it's 50 Ks through from Curlitz Road to Augustine Drive, and then
Yes.
it goes to 60 Ks from Augustine Drive to Dunbar's Road.
That's right. Is there any chance of changing that backwards?
What do you mean by backwards?
Well, back
exactly?
to say 50 rather than 60?
Oh, 50 K through the whole.
The whole thing.
It was 80 previously.
Probably there's division.
60 could.
At the moment, there's no plans for that. Now, there's more development that's going to occur within that area.
Yes.
And whether that brings about a case for lowering the speed limit further, we'll have to see. But at the moment, with the road environment that's there at the moment, 60 K is considered as safe and appropriate speed.
The speed settings are about to change.
Well, it was low to help people get across the road. Now there'll be literal lights and a pedestrian crossing at those lights to get people across the road.
And that's why I thought it was just that part that was
Yeah.
had, because it goes up
Right.
to 60.
Yes,
Yes.
yes,
And then it goes back to 50.
yes. No, I can understand where.
Yeah, thank you. We can carry on with the presentation. We're halfway through the time and
Hayden.
Cool. So I'm Hayden Stizoka. I'm interim contractors rep. Ryan McMahon's normally looking after the job. He's away for the next 2 weeks. So when he gets back, he'll likely present it if there's any more planned. So the work's been split into 4 zones. We've got the urban section, which is consists of zone 1 and zone 2. So that's from Curlitz through to Augustine. And then we've got the greenfield section, which is from Augustine through to Dunbar's Road. The key deliverables are largely in zone 3 for this year, and that's working towards the completion of the Aidenfield intersection for the end of the year. So at the moment they are working zone 1, zone 2 on the southbound lane. So they're pushing all the traffic to the northbound, which is heading towards town, and they're working on that to get in the sewer and other stormwater services through there and some of the utilities. Whereas in zone 3 and 4, we're focusing largely around that Aidenfield Drive and the completion of that Aidenfield intersection as quickly as we can. Do you want to flick on to the next? Yep, if you want to jump in.
Yeah, on the zones. So once the intersection's done,
Yes.
what is sort of the next part of the?
So for Aidenfield, once the intersection is complete, we'll then finish the extent of zone 3. So that'll bring us all the way up to Augustine and then up to the bend in the road before Dunbar's.
The next stage after that will be the path on each side of the road too.
So basically with that intersection,
Yeah.
we'll be constructing the path as we go, is the idea.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So yeah,
Yeah.
ideally we want to get those, the key is getting those lights operational,
Yeah.
but it's
So
shortly
see the
thereafter.
paths on zone 3 fairly shortly after.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, very good news. The paths coming down zone 4. What
So-
sort of part of the stage is?
Yeah, that will be I would say middle of next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So what's happened since May? You would have seen a fair bit of activity out there. Potholing to identify existing underground services. That's to help verify design, what we've been working around. There's been a lot of tree removal, creating room. So that's for the new alignment through there. So there is that widening happening for the four lanes. So for bus shelters, shared paths, cycle path, and then the Aidenfield Drive intersection. So there's been a lot of service installation there. We've installed approximately 500 linear metres of shared utilities services to date. All the signalised intersection services on one half of the road on the northbound side are in. And we're now working on the pavement rehabilitation through there so that we can, and constructing the new road. So what's coming up? Zone 1 and Zone 2. So I talked about the transfer of that traffic and the deep sewer installation and sewer laterals on the through that urban zone. So that's scheduled to start relatively soon. Zone 3, trenching to install new utilities, including the undergrounding of the overhead power lines through there. So there's an Orion package of work that we've got to complete there that also services the new subdivision or the development that's planned for across the road. We've also got the Aidenfield approach and intersection construction. So that's basically where that intersection is now. It's approximately 200 metres either side of that we're aiming to construct before the end of the year. And then, like I just said, traffic lights. So traffic lights operational before late 2024 at this point. Christmas present. Yeah, Christmas present. Yeah.
We're going to hold you to that.
Yeah.
He might not want to come back.
Well, it's my counterpart who's coming next door. I'll go back. I'll talk about the photo that's up there as well. So that is, I guess that's looking towards Dunbar's, and that's standing at the corner of the Aidenfield intersection, looking towards Dunbar's. So there's, as you can see, there's quite a decent pavement to dig out through there. So that's exposing some of the subgrade, and then we're filling that with anywhere from 560 to a metre of material, depending on the condition of the road through there. Yeah. So why is construction so complex? So it's a state highway, an urban road without any viable detour routes. We've sort of worked with what we can, pushing traffic down Euphrasie for the Aidenfield closure there, but some of the other streets further along, there is some difficulty there. Utility relocations. So this is largely around resilience. It's about getting the services. A lot of those services that are currently in road are now moving outside of the road corridor. They'll be within the path of the berm, so they'll be more accessible in the event of a failure or an issue. Yeah. There's traffic signals. We've got water supply, wastewater, stormwater. There's a whole library of services, new services going in there. We're installing essentially a new stormwater network and new sewer network through a lot of this project. So it's pretty comprehensive.
Next slide.
Yeah, so if you jump across to the next slide, those lines, all of those lines in there, so you'll be able to make out the outline of the road corridor, but all of those lines indicate new services to go in ground. So as you can see, it's pretty comprehensive what has to go in. And again, this is the Aidenfield intersection, sorry. So there's, as you can see, there's quite a bit going on there and quite a bit we need to get done below ground before we can actually start building up.
That's a brilliant map to be able to show us and sum it up for the public. It's very useful.
Yeah. Is there any questions on that part?
Have you consulted with residents in Aidenfield Drive?
So consultation went out to the Aidenfield catchment around the closure there, and we actually put two options forward as to how we would construct that intersection, whether we'd look at a partial closure, and the residents came back with overwhelming support for a full closure and a shorter construction period.
Okay.
Yep.
And are they happy with that intersection as a concept? Because there is concern about the amount of traffic going through. I don't understand why you're doing it, but there's concern about the traffic going through.
I don't know about
You haven't heard that.
consultation
regarding
in terms of
the
the
detour
design.
routes.
Sorry?
You mean Euphrasie and then Augustine?
No.
The detour?
Yeah,
Or the actual-
Augustine Drive, there's just concern about the amount of traffic.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, compared to what used to be there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, look, but they're also aware that once there's lights at Aidenfield Drive,
It's so much easier.
there'll be less need to be using Augustine Drive in the future,
Oh, right.
with the exception of Waipuna, which traffic needs to go to Wickham Road.
Yeah.
Running down Euphrasie.
My question was, are you finding things you didn't want to find under the ground? Is it going smoothly in that regard? Because it's always, you never quite know till you get under there.
Yeah. Yeah,
No
I
particularly
mean,
nasty surprises that are holding things back a bit.
no, I mean, I guess the weather's had a bit of a part to play recently.
Yeah.
It's definitely not favourable for construction. If our in situ material is saturated and our imported material is saturated as well, and there's not a lot we can do to control that. So that's a bit of a challenge at the moment. There's been some service conflicts as well with our investigation. So we're just working through those at the moment. But yeah, still driving towards that.
Yeah,
that target at the end of the year. Don't want to let anyone down.
No pressure, no pressure.
So we're using a range of tools to communicate with the community. Works notices, which you'll probably be all aware of, describe what's happening where and when. They go into the letterboxes of those who are directly affected by the work, generally about a week before the work starts. And Susie or her colleagues talk to the businesses or institutions in the area to let them know what's happening and to provide them with electronic versions of information which can be dropped into school newsletters or go out to customers. Signage also goes up in the vicinity of the work, and this reaches more residents in the area and also the people who are travelling through that area. And again, that generally goes up about a week before the work starts, along at the same time as the work notices. We also have what we call an electronic update, which we encourage people to subscribe to through our website. And that's where work affects a broader community. As things started to progress with the project, there was work in lots of different places, and we made the decision that rather than send out every bit of work, because sometimes it only affected a relatively small number of people, and bombard everybody else, that we would make sure that we were, used our judgment a little bit in terms of making sure that when it was something that affected the broader community and travelling community, that would go out through our electronic update. And that's the same with social media. We're using social media in the same way. We also have electronic newsletters, which will go out at milestone points or with project-wide information. And I'm starting to draft one now, given that we're a couple of months into construction. Our project webpage is there for people who want information about the project as a whole, and it has the project email address as well if anybody has queries. And that's where updates are also posted, just pretty much at the top of the page. And we now have a new tab, which is upcoming work. So I'm putting all the work notices there so that if somebody isn't quite in the area, but they think, oh, what's going on there, they can go to the website and they'll get the information about that work. We use media releases generally for something that's pretty big, like when work kicked off. And there are meetings such as this, but also with local residents and businesses.
Questions, Andre?
Yeah, just on social media, it would be quite good to utilise the local Facebook groups to put project updates in. I'm doing it currently, and it's easy enough to do. But if NZTA is already adding things to things like Facebook, it would be good to also be adding them in to these groups where thousands of specifically local people will be to see them. I mean, there's sort of 2-3 key ones: Halswell, Spraydon, Poonhay.
Wigram.
Yeah, Wigram.
It wouldn't hurt. It doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. They still, a lot of them still use Halswell Road. That gets that information to where it needs to go, basically. And there's a catchment there of sort of 30,000 people all up, most of them local. So really good to utilise those. They're extremely
pretty engaged community on that.
Yeah,
We know the pages.
Yep.
It's more around the who does it and where it's coming from.
Consistency.
I know that we've obviously spoken to you previously about doing it and finding that the best person or organisation to do so, because I know that the City Council are really good at doing that for some of the, like Monks Bay and the Coastal Pathway was so it definitely works.
So because I say whatever NZTA is putting on Facebook, it may as well also go to those places. The Halswell newsletter, are you planning to send things to the Halswell newsletter on an ongoing basis when you've got updates?
Well, we can talk about that at the meeting.
Won't be anything to do with the Residents Association.
Oh.
Halswell newsletter, I think they've got something like 1,600 subscribers, something like that. I imagine they'll be quite keen to get those regular updates sent to them, just so they can put a piece of the newsletter.
So they're probably on our subscriber
No,
list. I would have
I'll
thought.
speak to you about it.
Andre. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we've definitely got.
But yeah, physically sending something to them when you have updates, I think would be really useful, because that will get to a whole lot of Halswell people.
Do they deliver that paper as well as online? Or
Well,
just
yeah,
online?
so each month they'll print off a certain amount of paper copies.
Yeah.
Kindly sponsored by Harcourt's Grenadier. Thank you, Harcourt's Grenadier, for watching. We appreciate sponsorship.
Yeah.
And they'll do a letterbox drop in a different area each month.
And then it's all available online. Very good newsletters.
Yeah, really, really good, and a huge amount of people subscribing online. Yeah. It gets quite a good amount of reach.
Okay.
Yeah, so setting them there, it's definitely worthwhile. Yeah, nice one. Thank you.
Sarah, is the page that you're referring to New Zealand Transport Agency, Wakaka, Canterbury and West Coast? Okay.
Facebook one. Okay. It
Oh,
will be that one for doing our updates.
Yeah, for Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
so
a
I
Canterbury
guess-
page. Yeah.
yeah. And so given there's so much other stuff going on, it would be really good to have a more specific targeted notices for
The
specific
website,
groups.
if you type in Halswell Road upgrade, the website that Kay was referring to before has all those
Okay.
updates.
That's
It's
on
just
there.
the correlation between the website and then what goes on Facebook.
Yeah, right.
The website itself is quite good,
Yeah,
and being able to subscribe to updates is quite good.
yeah.
It's like, I'm making sure I'm sharing details with Halswell, but I don't necessarily get to Spraden and Hone Hay. I
Sure.
might not be getting that.
Yep.
Yeah, and they're probably copying more than us, and will do so in these couple of years.
All right, anything else? You've still got another community board to go to? So, thank you very much for your presentation. Yep.
Thank you for having us. Appreciate it, really.
Nice to meet you all.
Right.
Hearing there'll be a footpath in and out of Halswell, potentially by next year is better than Christmas.
Roads, the little one.
Right.
We chat over, Joe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, right.
See you the next one.
Right.
The main road.
Thank you. Right. Right, so we move on to our next item. Ray, is this you? Or-
Well, I guess it's me. Yeah, so there were questions raised at elected members to our exchange about the current arrangements for board submissions, that they be clarified. So I've just put together here what has happened previously, where a submissions committee was utilised by the board, and the current arrangements where there's been delegations to the board chairperson and deputy chairperson. Yeah, so that's what I was asked to do, I guess, and that's what I've done. Is there any specific questions, or do you want me to comment on what I think is significant in the different arrangements? Yeah.
So if I could comment too, actually.
Andre first, and then Helen.
Well, can I ask?
Oh, you want
Oh,
Helen
yeah,
first?
Helen go first.
Okay,
yeah.
Helen, go first.
Yes, look, we always had a submissions committee in the past. And this time, and I was chair then, I was asked would I go with this working party. And I sort of said, yes, that's fine. But I have had doubts about it. We've had a couple of difficult issues. And to me, I know Paul McMahon has a submissions committee. So I actually wonder if we should go back to it, because it does leave the delegations with myself and Marie, and it has a couple of times has been difficulties, which we didn't have under the previous structure. So that's just a comment. I mean, I don't know how we change it or people want to change it.
So what would it fix?
Pardon?
What difficulties would it fix?
It would fix the issue where we had one issue where we met with 3 of us on an issue and agreed we'd do a presentation on it. And then we found with the working group, both the chair and the deputy chair have to agree if there's a third person. So that
would be the same with the submissions committee, would it not? Because the submissions committee has a chair and a deputy chair, and they would then have to agree.
And you do it at the time, you delegate it. At the time you met, you do a formal delegation to so-and-so to actually submit on behalf of the group.
No, at the moment, so previously before, we never had a delegation specific around speaking to submissions. There was never a formal delegation in.
No, it was just the chair would do it.
It was always the chair.
Or deputy.
Yes, exactly. The chair or deputy as part of their role. But when we did the delegations last time at the start of the term, we put in a specific one just stating that delegate to the board chairperson and the deputy chairperson to finalise and lodge the submissions and authorise them to appear and be heard on behalf of the board. And we added in there a proviso for another member nominated by the board chairperson and deputy to do this in their case. And I think that was to cover the situation where neither of them were available. And I would imagine that you would probably have the same thing when you had a committee, or no matter how the submission was finalised.
I think at the meeting, we had a meeting on it, a working party meeting, and we decided to do a submission. And I think we did make a delegation to somebody, it wasn't a formal one, but just saying, well, someone could speak to that. And then the chair and deputy chair didn't actually agree. So I think you could, that's probably the main issue I recall. So there has been another issue.
So a committee would do the exact same thing, but mean that you have to give 2 weeks in advance to do a submission, and that means that you'll miss out on making some submissions because you missed the time dedeadline. And then if there isn't a quorum, it can't go ahead in the first place.
You only have 2 for quorum, though.
No, 3.
I think it was 2.
3.
3? You sure? Why is that?
Well, because a quorum is half of the membership, and if the membership was the 6,
and you have 6.
Because you formalised it with a committee, whereas if without a committee, you don't actually need a quorum. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, because it's
yes, you can have.
So a committee just restricts you and delivers the same outcome as the way you've described it.
Yeah. It may be that.
But the issue you've raised is who's speaking to something, which can be addressed through what you're doing already. I don't understand why changing to a committee would help that.
No, I think
because that binds you more to.
I think if you have a committee, you can agree at that committee that someone is the speaker.
You can do that now.
And I think what happened on this issue is that we agreed, and then when we went back to the record there, it's meant to be both the chair and deputy chair agree. The 2 of us agree, and if you have a division on that, the person can't actually proceed. Look, it may just be a hiccup that we had, and it won't happen again. But we've had something else. Debbie had strong feelings about this, didn't she?
Because you had a lot of hiccups. We had a lot of hiccups last year in the submissions committee, because there regularly be there's some occasions where there wasn't a quorum to do things.
We had 2. We had 2. Oh, yeah, 3.
Yeah. So it's pretty embarrassing when there's a submission supposed to be going ahead, but it can't because there hasn't been a quorum for the committee. And then like when things come up where there's like a really tight deadline to make a submission on something, and if you legally have to give 2 weeks notice of a submissions committee, so it means if council needs to hear from community boards within a week, and you've got a submissions committee structure, the board is no longer allowed to submit at all. But so there must be a way to address what you've mentioned without potentially making the situation worse with the committee is possible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the issue was a bit on the borders of the submission, of the actual question from council. It was on the borders.
The other thing, Helen,
I know that Debbie has concerns too.
The other thing, Helen, is that you will recall, because you were on the submissions committee last time, and you will probably too, Mark, that we always what the submissions committee always resolved was to delegate to the board chair and deputy chair to finalise the submission.
That's right.
And lodge it anyway.
Mm.
So we kind of, the current system is starting at that point rather than going through the setting up the committee and ending at that point.
Look, I think if there was to be a change, I think we'd have to get a clearer sense of what the problems are and what the change would sort of involve too. I mean, it's 5 days notice, isn't it, for the public?
I can't quite remember. No, I think it's more. I think it's more notice than that. Actually.
Okay.
So the purpose of today that
It's
we
just
have it here in front of us is to find out what the issues are. So
Yes.
So the issue, your main issue is because when there is a division between the chair and the deputy chair.
That's the main issue. And also, I think the planning committee or any planning issue was challenged at one stage. And I think that was around Christmas time when sort of I made phone calls, and I then had to ring everybody and say, look, would you put it in writing? I guess that was a Christmas time thing, and it wouldn't have worked either way, either the working group or submissions. But it does mean that it's more formalised, that you can't have this challenge, if you like. That's my phone, isn't it? Going forward. But I mean, I think if someone wants to change it, they're probably best to talk to other people and sort of do a notice of motion.
We're trying to now whether if there's an appetite to change it, then it will go to a board meeting and it will be decided at the board meeting. So now is the time that we are going to.
Yeah. I think there's been a couple of challenges because I've been actively involved in planning and I've always phoned people, and I suppose that fits the working party model. But if you have a submissions committee, you'd have the 3 people in the room. I thought it was 2, anyway 3, and you'd formally do it.
Yes, but then you'd need 2 weeks' notice.
I don't think it does, and I think it's 5 days.
It has to go to the standing orders.
We've been going over this for years.
Council standing orders.
Yeah.
Standing orders.
Yeah.
So you need 2 weeks' notice
Well, I know
to
that
be able to put in a submission.
Paul McMahon has a submission.
We've had this conversation, I reckon, dozens of times with this community board, and we continually have been caught up over the 2-week thing.
It is restricted.
And
on the last term, but
I mean, the reason the board went away from it was to make a high level of flexibility, and it's much easier now because the board is live streaming its informal sessions, so that an informal consultation between the board chair and deputy will be live streamed now.
Live streamed too.
A submissions committee.
We certainly, I mean, we haven't had any submissions this year from recall, so largely it was all last year. But we haven't done anything, I recall, here to a hearings panel. I mean, to a sort of panel of councillors. So
none this year.
What do you mean, Hannah?
well, we have, you know how you have a hearings panel on a bylaw,
A submission.
a submission on a
Or even
bylaw.
made a submission.
I don't recall us
At the LTP. We
LTP.
did the LTP.
LTP, but that's about
That's
That's about it,
Yeah,
yes.
that's what we've done this year.
years. Yeah, and we
Out
have,
of the term, we've done 14 submissions as well.
yeah, but I think it's been largely last term or the beginning of this year. It hasn't been recent, other than the LTP. So I've actually, yeah, it doesn't sound quite as, I think it's, I mean, I've lost track now of exactly I do feel I wasn't aware of 2 weeks. I thought it was 5 days notice.
It continually tripped us up last term because we wouldn't be able to get something in by the time we needed the submission. So those 14, that number would probably be a lot less if you had a submissions committee, because there's been so many tight deadlines over the last year, and particularly with government legislation, if it's done and this kind of thing. So what it would essentially mean is this, well, from what I'm hearing, the same outcome, but ultimately less submissions from the board. Because you're bound by the
He's on.
tight timeframe.
He's
But
on.
you mentioned concern around delegations. What would you like to see the delegations look like? That's different
Well,
to now.
I haven't-
Those can be changed, right?
I haven't thought a lot about this
Yeah,
recently,
yeah,
so I'm,
yeah.
yeah. And it hasn't been, the long-term plan went smoothly.
Yeah.
We had, I think, in the end, 4 people in the room.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that went smoothly.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
so just to clarify, the delegation, as Faye mentioned, I think the intention was to authorize a third party, another member of the board, if the chair and the deputy chair are not available. So another member of the board can be spokesperson. But if the chair and chairperson are there,
Yes.
then, so that was what it was meant for.
And that happened with the submissions committee that we had last term, Helen. It wasn't the submissions committee chairperson who usually spoke. It was normally board chairperson and yourself.
That's right, yes, yes, that's right.
So, and that's what the delegation is now, to the board chair and deputy, and then the authorisation is to the board chair and deputy to speak.
And if they're not available, and if a third person's to speaking, because they might be an expert, if you like, in a certain field, then we can't, both the chair
Both chair and deputy chair
have to agree.
have to agree, yes.
Okay, look, I'm not particularly fixed on this, so Debbie's not here, so
Okay.
Well, it was in the agenda.
Yeah, she's quite keen.
I'm happy to just leave it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, good.
Right.
So that.
And if someone wants to bring it back,
Is Tyler in?
Waiting,
Yeah.
waiting.
Oh, Tyler, sorry.
Tyler.
We can let him in and say.
Let them in then.
Get him in
Okay.
and say bye.
Oh, where's Tyler?
what's the time? there?
Disappeared?
He's not in. It's not in my meeting. He's not there, is he?
No. So,
How many have got him? 1, 2?
Are you emailing him, Mark?
Anyway.
She's not probably
Yeah.
to know that
I was
we're with
you were sitting there waiting, waiting.
Oh, probably because we
Okay.
ignored him.
so that's the end of the information session, so we can go offline now.
Perfect, thank you.
Time to pack my
Thank you.
shorts.
Very good.